So let's just, oh, we're logged in. Hang on. Let's get that part done. So, what I want to do the next couple of days, we're almost done. We're damn close to being out of here. I thought you'd be more excited. That's okay, though.
It's Monday.
Oh, it's Monday. But I just said we're almost done. We only have one Monday left. That's gotta be exciting for you.
Oh, that's exciting.
Ah, there it is. One Monday, one more Monday. No more Mondays. Unless we have, is our last meeting on a Monday? Or is it on a Wednesday? That, I don't know the answer to that. Let me look it up.
One of my classes was Monday and one was
Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense. The way they're arranged doesn't make a whole lot of
both of
sense.
my classes were Monday, Wednesday, and one final was on Wednesday.
Right. Now remember, the final in here is not really a final.
But when did
It's due. I'll tell you in a second.
I know when that's due, but what, so do we even come in on our...
You do, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why, Amber. Hang on one second, my friend. Okay, we actually have 2 Mondays left. I lied.
Oh, okay.
I lied. I'm a total lioness, it'll be. The Monday of exam week. Now, we don't have an in-class exam that day. You come in, I have to have you in here by contract. Like, if you look at the contract of the way exam week runs, like, officially, administratively at the school, I have to have you here for, like, paraphrase, a summative evaluation of the class, which everybody, of course, gives a cumulative final exam. That's the default setting for that day. So what I do instead is I have a 10-minute survey that you guys take, where I collect data about what you liked about the class, what you didn't like about the class. It's anonymous, it's on a piece of paper, you'll hand it in. But I have to have you in the room for a little bit, by virtue of whoever makes the rules around here. But you do have your last exam due that day, which is it's the same as everything else. It's due before you come in that day. So it's set, I don't have the link up for it yet, but it's set up to be 8:15 that morning, due that day. Now, because of that, I think we're gonna see how next week goes. I'd like to make Wednesday a work day for you guys because of this being due. You're not coming in to do it that day, you're doing it before that day. So I'd like to give you some time. So what I'm thinking next Wednesday is I'll just come in. We won't actually do anything active 105-ish. I think we'll have everything done by then anyway. Looking at the next 3 days we have together, which is today, Wednesday, and then next Monday. We're gonna. Was that me?
I'll wake you up.
Was that me?
No, it's mine.
No, that was you. Okay. Give me my leg. Was that my leg? What was I just saying? Oh yeah, I think we'll have everything done by then. Has anybody cracked this open yet? Take a look at it. You haven't? So there's a part in it about craps, which we're going to play next week. I got a bunch of Starburst. We're going to bet with Starbursts, play craps, understand how craps work, and understand how arguably one of the most popular games in Vegas takes your money a little bit at a time. We're going to measure how quickly it takes your money. All the games in Vegas, all the games have a chance to take your money. Craps takes it the most slowly. And I hope you guys will understand it by the end of that day, how craps takes your money the most slowly. So anyway, that's Monday, reverse engineering back from Monday. I want to, I think on Wednesday, look at how to take a weighted average of what's called a probability distribution, which we're going to learn about today in class. So that's kind of like the lineup of the rest of the class. It's all probability. Everything from here on out is probability. So we're going to kind of boom, boom, boom. Then Wednesday we'll have a work day where you just bring everything in if you want. I'll be here to answer questions, work with you if you want. We can also do it in a computer lab if that makes more sense, which it might make more sense. We can talk about it on Monday. Just because these things, it has 2 spreadsheets to play with on the exam. One is Usain Bolt and his world record setting 2009 100-meter dash, and one is the Don't Pass Bet crap simulator, which we're going to play with kind of in class on Monday. Except we'll actually use dice, like the dice you guys have right now on Monday. So, cool? So I lied to you, I have 2 more Mondays. Sorry. Yes, Amber.
So this coming Wednesday,
Yes.
do you have anything planned? Because I know I won't be here.
That's okay. I do have something planned,
Okay.
but I'll have a video recorded, of course, and it will be referenced on Monday of next week.
Okay.
So it's pretty much the building blocks for what then we're going to use on Monday. So you could come in Monday cold without it being here on Wednesday and be like, okay, I'm just going to catch up now. Or you can watch the video over the weekend at some point, sit down for half an hour, kind of skip through, like, okay, he's telling those bad jokes again, fast forward. Okay, here we go, this makes sense. So yeah, I don't think it'll be the whole time on Wednesday, but there's one particular skill I want to make sure that gets driven home, and I'm collecting data right now to kind of put that meaningfully together for you on Wednesday. And I'm thinking to do an in-class quiz. If you guys aren't there, I'll just email it to you. You can bring it in on Monday. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
cool?
Yeah.
Cool. I didn't get a progress report out yet, I apologize. This weekend got kind of chaotic, which was okay, I mean, I got a lot done, but I didn't get your guys' stuff done, but I wanted to yesterday. So I'm thinking after this afternoon, assuming my advisees don't swamp me like they did last week. You guys have seen your advisor, right? Do me a favor, just do me a favor. If you go to register for classes and it tells you you can't, don't call your advisor screaming at your
No.
advisor that it's their fault, when in fact you owe the school money. And that's why you can't register. I had to deal with that on Wednesday, that was
That's
lovely.
weird, why would they call you?
Because the immediate assumption is that I didn't do my job and cleared them if I cleared them for three terms.
Oh.
Silly because
So-
the Bobcat accountant gives the admission
I know.
service number.
It's got a big,
on the-
it's got a big red
Right.
exclamation
Yeah.
point that says balance due.
Yeah.
Somehow that becomes Sean screwed up, so.
Weird.
Just promise me you won't do that. It was a fun phone call to make back to the guy. I really enjoyed that. Hi, Sean here. How you doing? Anyway, just promise me you won't do that to your advisor if that ever happens. That was a fun 30 seconds we had back and forth. Oh, I'm sorry, dude. Anyway, cool. So hopefully I won't get slammed with advisees this afternoon. I'll get your progress reports out for the end of next week. I think I have everything I need. I had a couple random things that were manually turned in that I still got to get graded. I'll take care of that soon. Cool? How we doing? All right, we're getting there. We got dice in our hands. Mets and Mets, as my grandma used to say. Mets manja. So we're gonna do a little gambling, a little bit of gambling. I like gambling because, well, it's how probability started, as you saw from your last project. It's where this all came from. It's where it all came from. It all started with games of chance, and people began to realize that through the games of chance, it became, oh yes, let's hand around the dice if we need them. Yeah, go. So let's sit tight on those for a second. I want to talk about terms real quick. Before we get to actually doing the data, I want to make sure we understand exactly what's going on with what does probability mean. So we use this word quite a bit. What does it mean? What does it mean when you talk the probability? Give me some words you think of when you hear that term.
Ratio.
Ratio. I like that one. Oh, good. Ashley, what do you mean by ratio? I love that. Good.
Percentage.
Good.
I don't know.
No, you got it. This is perfect. Write that too.
Chance?
Chance. Oh, good. I'm gonna put that over here if you don't mind, Amy. Oh, likelihood. Oh, these are good. I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to get Ashley off the hook by not making her define what ratio was. Yeah. Christy?
I always think of probably.
Oh, good.
Probability.
Good. You go straight to the root of the word, probably. I like that. Yeah. Hey, I always think of that I spelled it wrong. Hang on. Probably. I like to think of that one when I think of the people waiting for the machines that are due in Vegas. You know, watching the little lady watch. She's pulling one on her bed, nothing's paying out. Okay, time for me to leave. And she wanders away, and then everybody fights for the chair because the machine's probably due, but it's not due because due doesn't exist except in your mind. It's very, very good. Right. Good. I want to come back to that. With yes, good. So Ashley, you're not off the hook yet. Ratio. What is it the ratio of? You're on the hook. Let's get the whole class on the hook. What is it the ratio of? When you talk about, it's a fraction, right? What is the chance of taking a coin and flipping heads? Good. As a fraction, we'd say it's 1/2. 50%. So let's go to the sideboard. I want to make sure we understand this. Good. You're not off the hook yet, but we're getting close.
You asked us for it.
I know. So this is good though, this is good. What's the problem? Can I use shorthand? See if you like this. What's the chance or probability of flipping heads on a single coin flip? Is that okay? If I write it like that? That's okay. So you say it's a half. Okay. Why? Why is it a half? You're all on the hook now.
Two sides.
You're on the hook. Got the rod nice and high. Pull the hook out of the water, just like Vail taught me. Please.
There's only two sides.
Ah, okay. And that explains the two.
One.
The rod. One of them is
Heads.
heads. You got it. So that is, I think Pam, you brought this up on Wednesday, if I remember correctly, the classical definition of probability. I want to look at this two ways, if that's okay. Because there are really two ways, both of which we're going to talk about over the next 2 days together. And it really is, the reason there's two ways is because one helps us in learning probability, and one is how we deal with probability in the world. So, let's look at it two ways. And I love this, first of all. There are two equally likely outcomes, one of which is heads. So, what we're doing that is what's called the classical definition of probability. And it's great for analyzing things like dice and coins and cards and slot machines and roulette wheels. They're super fun because it does a nice job of modeling those. So the ratio of which Ashley correctly spoke is the number of items in what are called the event space. I should put the word in there. Over the number of items in the sample space. And these are terms we used last time. I think we did we?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we did. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Amber. And the key, though, the key is remembering that the items in the sample space are all equally likely to happen. That is key. You have to remember that, right? You have to remember that the items are equally likely to happen. Number of items in the sample space. These sample space items need to be equally likely. What does it mean, equally likely? What does that mean, equally likely? Equally likely. Josh, help me.
It means they all have the same chance of happening.
Right. So in other words, there are two items in the sample space from flipping a coin, correct? Heads and tails. Which one happens more frequently? Trick question. Neither. They both happen the same amount of times, which makes their likelihood equal. You're just as likely to get a head as you are to get a tail. When you roll a die, you're just as likely to get 3 as 5, as 2, as 1, as anything else. Now that's not always true, correct? I think I use the silly example all the time just to disprove to you guys why you can't assume everything is equally likely. What's the chance I'm going to get hit when I ride my bike home today? 50%, right? Because either I am or I'm not. But I can't do that. I mean, I could do that if I ride carelessly. But I shouldn't do that because the events of getting hit while riding home and not getting hit while riding home are not equally likely. Not random. I like that too. They're not random. Right? If they were randomly assigned, it'd be 50-50 essentially. But they're not random and they're not equally likely. As a matter of fact, the probability of me getting hit while riding my bike home from work depends on where you look. In Bend, it's 0. It's never happened. I'm going to come back to that in a second. In Delaware, when I lived on the East Coast, it was approximately, I'm going to make a number up here. What's 10 times 3,600? I think I wrote for 10 years while I was there. It's about 5 out of 3,600. That was the chance of getting hit, for me getting hit on the East Coast. I had hit 5 times over the course of about 10 years.
Are
So
they
you
not
go
as used to
number of
bike
trips on a,
riders?
what's that?
Are they not as used to having bike riders there?
Well, there's lots of differences.
Oh,
Number
that's
one
true.
is a lot more people. I live near Philadelphia.
Oh, Philadelphia.
So for every person that lives in Bend, multiply that person by 5, and then put them very close to you, and make them pissed because they're on the East Coast,
Yeah.
right? And then take the bike lanes away because there are none. And then give everybody, it's a
lot.
it's a whole different culture. It's kind of a shock. I remember when I first started working here, my student reviews all said the same thing, like, slow it down a little bit, dude. And I have, believe it or not. It's hard to believe, I know. And my boss Charlie Nassar, you guys had Charlie before for class, he's absolutely fantastic. He visited New York City, he used to be like, dude, you gotta tone it back. You're on the West Coast now, man. You're on the West Coast, you gotta tone it back. I'm like, I'm trying, man, I'm trying. And then he went back and visited New York. This is after about 2 years, and he came back, he's like, okay, I totally get you now. He said he got on the bus and they got outside, he's like, oh. Everybody running by him, not looking at him. Dude, out of my way. I remember going back, last summer I went back for some shows, and I was driving somewhere with my drums in the back, and I came to a stop sign, T intersection, and I stopped, and I turned the signal on, I looked left and looked right, it took maybe 5 seconds, I heard this, brr, brr, hey, brr, brr, get out of the way! I spit around, it's a UPS driver behind me. Like, welcome back to the East Coast, hippie boy. It's just, there's so many differences, Christine. I don't know, I can't attribute anything except that. I've gotten nearly hit here. I almost got hit last week. and then 2 weeks ago, but again, I was able to fend those off. But the idea, again,
Sorry, I
tangential
cut you
stories,
off.
but you have to, this only works when things are equally likely. Otherwise, you have to weight them. For example, if we bought our chickens from a place that didn't sex them, the chance of getting heads on a coin is the same as getting the chance of getting a rooster. Because assuming the genders are mixed equally likely, which I'm assuming they are, like humans, 50-50, it would be a 50% chance of getting a rooster or a chicken with any given bird. Fair enough? But when you buy them sexed, it's not this anymore. It's then 90-10. So it's like a coin that comes up heads 90% of the time and tails 10% of the time. It's a weighted coin. And that's what Wednesday's all about, is how to deal with those coins. How to deal with, and I call them coins. Everything's kind of a coin if you look at it that way. So, that's perfect. That's perfect. This is a classical way of looking at it. Now, explain to your neighbor, without using terms like equally likely and event space and sample space. I love this. I love that we talk about it like this. But then I always view success in mathematics as being able to explain it to somebody else who hasn't had mathematical training. So suppose you're trying to explain, you're out there trimming your hedges in a nice fine spring day. And they say, you know, we're going to flip a coin to see who gets to sharpen the blades this weekend. Ah, okay. And last time you flipped heads. And your neighbor goes, ha-ha, I'm going to bet on tails this time because you flipped heads last time. It's going to be tails this time. And you tell them, why? Why do you tell them no?
It's just as likely that you're gonna flip heads, what did you say, heads again?
Just as heads as get his tails again. But but your neighbor's like, no, but you flipped heads last time. And I know it's 50% likely to get heads as tails. So you burned your heads and now it's going to be tails.
Because each event, each time you flip it, it's just as likely. Not-
That's true.
Not between last.
But your
and
neighbor
this.
saw you flip heads. And in their mind, that means the heads is now exhausted, right?
Right.
So how do you
understand it now.
how do you convince your neighbor that it's just as likely to be heads as tails next time?
Just because you flipped heads this time doesn't eliminate that from the possibility of being
Heads
flipped.
again.
Do you remember the study we did last week on how often we get those crazy runs of heads and
Yeah.
tails in a bunch of coin flips? How often did it just go heads, tails, heads, tails, heads, tails, heads, tails? Not very. Yeah, not very often. Not very often. So let's take a look at something real quick. Let's take a look at something real quick. I want to kind of get at a second model of probability that actually serves the world better. It doesn't serve the education of probability much better.